Okay, so we're recording now. Thank you, Vuyo, so much for joining me today. I'm really excited to hear about your Starseed experiences and just kind of like hear how you've been interacting with them and how you learned about them and what happened when you learned about them. And I think it's just going to be really fun to get your perspective. I was telling you before we hit the recording button that I don't often get a chance to hear from people who learn about their starseed origins, their soul journey and their family, and what do you do with that information once you've learned about it, and how does that kind of settle in for you? And I was also mentioning like I know what I did with it, but I don't get to hear a lot about what other people do with that. So I'm really excited about this conversation tonight, and so I have some questions for you, and we'll just dive in. So the first question is, how was your experience learning about your starseed family and your origins? Like, how did that feel for you when you first learned about them?
I I felt it put a lot of like things into context for me. Um, I think for a long time I was questioning like why I was here and like kind of why I felt inclined towards healing. And it turns out like a lot of the roles that I've played in past lives had a lot to do with the role that I incarnated here for. So I was pretty excited to like find out and like get that confirmation. I feel like I had a ton more questions still, but I
Yeah.
was like really, really excited because it made a lot more things make sense. And perspective wise, there was this kind of like objectivity that
Hmm.
came from past lives, and I could be playful in this one too, and just be curious about the learning process and step into my role, and I don't have to be afraid of getting it wrong or making mistakes.
Hmm.
um and that I'm supported and loved anyways. Like that was like big confirmation for me. um Please
That's
excuse me.
awesome. No, it's okay.
Thank
Oh,
you.
you froze a little bit. Shoot, what was that? You just kind of froze up a little bit.
Oh, so was really great. Did it freeze again?
Yeah, it did for a little bit, but I think what you said was it was just really great for you to connect with that energy and kind of get that confirmation for a lot of the questions that you were having at the time, and that kind of different perspective than you were saying your other spiritual team members who may just they come from different perspectives on things that you're asking about. So I think you already kind of answered the next question, which is how does connecting with your starseed family? Oh no, I guess it's a little different. How does connecting with your starseed family feel to you versus maybe the rest of your spiritual team that you work with more frequently?
um, I instantly feel a lot of like love
Oh.
that pours in. Um, there's this very expanded love that I get from my angel team and my spiritual team in general. They're very like big and warm and supportive. And then when I connected to my starseed family, it felt very much like family. Um, it felt pointed, it felt specific, like there was a familiarity that they were speaking to me from, but it was also very pragmatic information that they were giving me about myself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, they were
that
great.
was really interesting. It was really interesting to observe like how personal the information was, and how like, oh, I don't know how to describe. It was very like pointed and very specific and very loving guidance. Um but the answers and the answers to the questions that I was asking were like very direct.
Yeah.
Um and it felt like that. Like in that same way that family members will like tell you straight to yourself
Yep.
what you need
Yeah.
to know.
Yep.
With a lot of love, but very much they're not like it was not it was delicate but not delicate, which I
Yeah.
really appreciate.
I really noticed when I receive guidance, like when I'm channeling starseed family members versus maybe angels or ascended masters, kind of the grander scale type energies. Sometimes it is way more like laser focused because they're like, girl, get it together. Like, this is your time right now. Let's make it happen.
Do it.
This is what you need to do. And yeah, I've seen that a lot. And I totally resonate with that. Like, I'd rather hear some maybe harsh truths at like rip the band aid off right away versus, and I, most of the time, angels are pretty direct as well. But the the connection that you're speaking to, I totally feel with my family, my starseed family as well. And they're very like, okay, let's make this happen. We're not going to hold your hand. We expect you to like step up. So that's
Yes.
awesome that you felt that. That's really cool. And so when you interact with your angels, and you're asking guidance from them, did they also kind of bring in that pointedness, or did you just really notice it with your starseed family?
I think I noticed it more with my starseed family. My angels are they feel really like warm. So the guidance that I receive from them is usually very much like it's encouraging. It's like very much you're on the right path, or here's some guidance, or like here's how you might want to navigate this a little more, but like it's always very gentle and
Mm-hmm.
very like you're okay. You're never off the path. It's okay. We love you. We love you. We're sending you so much love. And then my Starseed family was like, we love you and
Yeah,
get
that's awesome. Yep, that's super cool. I love it. What did you find surprising, or I guess what stood out to you the most in connecting with your starseed family? Maybe it's that pointedness, but is there anything else too?
um I was surprised to know how liberated their perspective is on life. There's a seriousness that I think I expected. And they were very much also like encouraging me to have fun, like while simultaneously trusting that I'm like doing the work, and they were like encouraging me. But like the part where they were like encouraging me, where they were encouraging me to like have a little fun and like allow myself to make mistakes
Mhm.
and explore the different options, and trusting that I can and will navigate things the way that I want to, and that they were really highlighting my right to choose. And that was a surprise to me because I thought there was a right way, or like a specific way to do things, and that I was going to get like I don't know, punished otherwise.
No,
um
never. Yeah, never.
but they really highlighted that I'm like here and I'm on my path and I'm on my purpose, and I'm never off the path, and I not only have the right to explore, but I'm also allowed to be gentle with myself, that I don't have to like take everything so seriously. I can just make a choice and know that if I feel it aligned with myself, then that is the right choice for me. Um yeah, like I really that like gave me a lot more freedom, I think, in the days after, as I was like making a bunch of I made big life decisions.
Hmm.
I felt really supported and really allowed to be myself and to choose what I felt was right for me. And so that was really, really cool. Like I felt supported a lot.
Yay, that's awesome. And yeah, they don't have this I guess more human perspective, like there's a right way and a wrong way. It's all just like, what do you want to do? Like it's very broad. And yeah, Starseed beings, I feel like, are so interesting to connect with because they may have had human experiences before. And so they kind of know what it feels like. And then they're right now maybe on the other side of the veil and they resonate more Pleiadian or more Lyran or Arcturian or whatever the case may be. And they're working with you on the other side of the veil because they love you and they want to support you. But they have like this other perspective, like, this is small potatoes. Just make a choice, have some fun, enjoy
Yes.
yourself. Like, do what you want to do because in the end, it all goes to your experience and it's all worthwhile. And then you can move forward and do it again if you wanted to, or go be a Lyran, or go be an Andromedan, or a Blue Avian, or anyone that you want to be after your experience here on Earth. So I think they do have a lot of perspective, and it's so fascinating as a human connecting to that perspective and being kind of more like universal. Like, everyone talks about like universal oneness and that universal love, and for me, like, I got it, we're all one, we're all energy, that makes sense. But speaking with starseed beings, like you were experiencing with your team, like you kind of get more of the context of what that really means to
Mm-hmm.
you and to me, and to like kind of how it all fits together a little bit. And so I really like seeing that. And it's cool that they were able to support you in that moment when you were facing a lot of these choices that had big impacts in your life, and you kind of felt more free to make whatever choices you wanted. And they're never ever going to punish you or like be shame on you for doing that. Like, that's stupid. They're never going to do that because, like I said, like, the any sort of choice you make, it all goes into that context and you get to learn from it no matter what. If you made a bad choice, they're like, well, that's great. You know what that feels like. Now, next time you make a choice, listen to what you're feeling and then it'll come out different. So
Mm.
that's really cool that you kind of connected with that. And yeah, I just hope, like, whenever you do have a big decision, including them in that kind of decision making process. As you know, you just started kind of interacting with your starseed family. So do you see yourself kind of folding them into your regular spiritual practice and communication with your team?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so one of my Starseed family members introduced themselves. I know you remember in my reading. And throughout the week, I've just been kind of calling their energy in and like welcoming them in to like just opening up that communication channel.
Great.
Um, yeah, I would like to. Um, and
So, what do you think about knowing your origins and your starseed family? Has this affected you in any way? Like, has this made a big impact, or do you see it kind of growing on you more?
yeah, I feel like in the conversation, um, they were offering me like tools and information and just general guidance that gave me context about how to navigate through life. So in terms of like the obstacles that I like face at times, like I have this tendency to make it bigger than it is and not be sure of how the outcome is going to look. So there was a lot more trust that like formed as I was communicating with them, trust within myself, and then trust that they also have my back. Um, and then the other part of the experience was just gaining more insight and information and opening up that communication channel, like knowing that they're there and willing to communicate with me at any time was like really, really cool. I was like, oh, so I
Yeah.
can just like ask questions.
Yeah.
I can just like be open. And it was I
Yeah.
very much have felt like the energy of like, and so one of the things that came up in my reading, I was asking about how to energetically handle my boundaries or like just shift energy. And I
Oh.
that I can just hand
Oh.
things over.
Mhm.
They offered up the guidance that I could hand things over when I was feeling overwhelmed or ask for help. And I wasn't sure if I could trust that going in. And so I was like, okay, let me try it. I was experiencing some anxiety, experiencing some that heavy decision making, the density. And I literally was standing by myself and I was like, hey, I want to hand this over. I'm like, I want to hand this off. Just take it.
Yay.
Take it. Thank you.
Mhm.
And literally, like, not even like an hour later, I was like, oh, wait, I feel different. And
Oh
then I
my
just like,
gosh, that's
yeah,
awesome.
as soon as like the thoughts came back, I was just like kept handing it over, and literally, I'm like so happy. I'm like, this is so so much easier than like
Isn't
spewing.
it?
Like, yeah, I felt really, really, really assisted, and I felt held like throughout this week, and it's been like particularly challenging. So I was really happy to have gotten the reading because it just gave me some context and like support.
That's awesome. Wow, that's something that like until you do it and you feel it and you see the difference, it's so
Yeah.
easy to hear, "Oh, just hand that off." Like I say that all the time, but when people actually try it, that's when you actually see like what that means and how it can be such an impact in your life. Like you've only been doing this for a week, but your energy already feels like so much lighter, like you don't have like kind of worries or like things kind of floating around in the back of your energy that I had noticed before. Just people carry stuff with them, you know, people carry worries in their head. They worry about things. You're planning your next few steps, you're, you know, focusing on all these different things, and it's chaotic a lot of the time. So it's nothing's that you like you had this one thing, but it's people have it a lot. And as you hand that off, it just gets lighter and lighter and lighter. And then you don't even remember what in the heck was I thinking about like an hour ago. I've had that happen to me. I'm like, what was the problem? I can't even remember anymore. And I'm just like, I don't know, move on. Yeah. Go
This
eat
is
some cookies or something, or go like on a walk, or go do something else.
have a good
So
day.
exactly. Yeah. So that's so awesome. I'm really happy to hear that. That's really cool. Cause yeah, they were very like, please ask us to do this for you. We want to get our hands dirty. So I'm so happy that you did that. That's awesome. So what would you share with other people who may be interested in connecting with their own starseed families or knowing your own, I guess, soul journey? Like, kind of, well, let's kind of scale that back a little bit. What do you feel around knowing kind of your past life stuff and a little bit more of like your soul journey? You touched on it a little bit, but is there anything else that you wanted to share with anyone about that experience?
So a lot of the work that I have felt called to in this lifetime has been around faith and healing. And for a lifetime, I think it was really potent to me to find out that the context of my soul's calling was affirmed. I think if anybody wanted to go and like just get a reading, i would say I would say do it. Bring your curiosity. bring
Yeah.
Yeah, bring your your questions about yourself in the context of your incarnation here. um I think there was like so much guidance. There was so much guidance for me that really like allowed me to like kind of explore and then come to not come I don't come to terms has like a negative connotation, I think. I don't know. But just
Right.
accepting more of the journey and knowing that if I incarnated here for the purpose of healing and creating space, then I'm equipped. I think I trust myself a little more than I did go like prior to going into the reading. And
Mhm.
so I was really excited to know that and get that confirmation that I was like on the right
Nice.
path. It was really affirming. Yeah, I think anyone who is curious, I very much encourage them to like just come bring your question.
Yeah,
They're
that's
waiting to
awesome.
answer them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing that I want to highlight. In the reading space, you get to bring like any and all of these questions. I also have my Starseed class that's coming up in March, and it's your Starseed Origins course. And it's going to be basically a space where up to 35 people. I have to cap it because it's so much channeling. I'm actually doing an individual personalized channeling for each person who signs up. And what I do is I ask the really the high level questions around what's basically your soul journey, like what are the highlights, the experiences, who are the groups that are really impacting your life now, what's your life mission here on earth, like how many times have you been here on earth, how many times have you been in those other incarnations,
Mhm.
and how many times um, have you not necessarily how many times, but I guess what are you doing here, like what's the point, the life mission, but also how does that fit in with your soul journey. So I
Mm.
answer all of those like really big questions kind of up front, and then the class is a space where you can basically then interact with the information about the different groups. And there's a lot of other channelings that I do and live channelings, and then it's just kind of a place to, there's a workbook to where you get to like journal or kind of work through some of the exercises on your own, to really like engage with their energy, your own starseed family energy, but also exactly what you're talking about, Vio, is like kind of reaffirming yourself and seeing that context that they provide for you as a person here on earth. And how does that feel? How does that resonate? And really, that week long class is an opportunity for you to ask more questions around, okay, all of this resonates with me. I'm feeling this now. You kind of get some time to let it like sink in. And then you have my time to ask more questions around certain maybe key points, or maybe you're making a decision in your life, like you were facing several decisions and they kind of like were very pointed, but they also gave you the space to like trust yourself. So
Mhm.
going into kind of like providing that extra support for that week, and it's going to be really really exciting. But the starseed class, or excuse me, the reading that you had, that's just the one-on-one reading, and that's super powerful in and of itself, and I'm so happy to hear that you loved it and you really enjoyed that. And yeah, it's that's kind of the difference between the two kind of services that I offer. Is the week long, you kind of there's a little bit more I guess access to me, and you get some materials to kind of support. And a lot of the like, I love that you brought up curiosity too, because um, in the class, well, in the reading, you get to ask a ton of questions, like however many questions we can fit in, we fit it in, we make it happen. But in the class, you get to like sit on it and think about it. And then, like you said before, like as soon as the reading was done, you had like a billion other questions. In the class, you get to ask those billion other questions. And I'm going to be channeling the Council of Light, who I work with quite often. I'm going to be channeling other councils. So each different type of uh, kind of the more, not, I won't say popular because that's not really the right word, but kind of the more common groups that I interact with, they all have their own councils that work together to support people here on earth and to support earth herself, and to like basically they're all coordinating with the angels and the ascended masters and all these other beings, so they all work together. So I'm going to be channeling messages from all of the different councils, like the council, the Orion Galactic Council, the Pleiadian Council, the Lyran Council, Andromedan Council, like all of them. And I'm really excited because I haven't done that in like one spot before. I've kind of channeled here and there and kind of like not piecemealed it, but had certain conversations with certain groups. And so it's going to be really fun to see that. And they answer like, well, as best as I can communicate what they're giving to me, they answer scientific questions, big universal questions, questions for your own personal life. It's pretty crazy. I learn so much every single time. It's pretty cool. So yeah, I wanted to throw that out there because um, there's a lot of, like you said, there's just so much to kind of absorb in that first introduction. And then as you move forward on your path, you have all these questions. You can still connect with them, they're there with you, but it's just like a lot. And so the class is really geared to kind of giving you as much as you can absorb over a week and kind of giving you the tools to continue to work with your team and not just have to, book a reading with me or another medium or, kind of guess at what they're trying to give you. They're really there to help build that connection with you in that week. So I'm really happy to hear too that your team has been around and hanging out and connecting with you and working with you. So that's super, super, super cool. This is so awesome to hear your experience. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of energy on my crown, and they're like glued to our conversation right now. They're really close.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Woo.
Um, so yeah, is there anything else that you want to share with anyone? Or do you have any questions?
I would like to ask you about your personal Starseed family relationship. I really want to know like what kind of called you to getting that guidance or like starting to work with your Starseed family.
Yeah, it was pretty intense. Kristen Davies and I work together very closely, but we're also friends. And one
Yeah.
time she was voice noting me and she just said, I have the Orion Galactic Council here and they want to talk to you. Like they just kind of barged in on her. And so she was so kind to share a message for me. And that's how I got introduced to my Starseed family.
Oh.
They came through to her. They're like, you are one of us. We want to connect with you. We are here and we just want to introduce ourselves at that time. And I then also channeled and got information on the rest of my team. So the Orion Galactic Council is more of like a kind of a bureaucratic grouping of Orion beings. And I have family members. I have one family member who's Orion, and I call her my Mina Mama. And I've channeled her a bunch, and I shared her kind of story in other YouTube videos, but she was my mother, and I was Orion, and she was my Orion mother. And I don't know why, just Mina Mama always came to mind, so I just call her that. And she is amazing because she works with Archangel Michael to manage my boundaries, like my energetic boundaries from lower vibrational beings or beings that I don't want necessarily just wandering into my energy and striking up a conversation. So she really manages that with Archangel Michael, and it's pretty awesome. And when I first started channeling, she was the first starseed being that I ever saw, and I didn't know it at the time because I didn't really know what I was feeling or seeing. But once I got introduced to her, I was like, oh my God, that's her. But she's all blue, and she kind of looks like the opera singer from The Fifth Element. She's got some like dreads that come up, and but she's like badass. Like she's like kind of like reminds me of like a biker chick kind of that's her energy. She's very like she's gonna kick your butt if she doesn't want you there kind of energy. So I work with her on a personal level, yeah, to help manage my energy. I don't necessarily do a lot of active work around protection because I've already told my team this is how I want it to be run. I'm comfortable with handing this off to you guys. I trust that you will manage that for me. And it's been done. I've never had problems with it. So it's pretty awesome. And she definitely will come in and be very motherly too if I need that kind of support in a really tough moment or when I'm just stressed out. She kind of prompts me to like step back away from the computer and go take a break. So she's very motherly in that as well. And then I have two other starseed beings. They're Pleiadians, And one is a sister relationship. Her name is Gloria. And then the other is more of a romantic relationship. His name is Rudolfo. And that's I want to throw this out there because I think a lot of people who connect with twin flames may like focus on that a lot, but he is my twin flame, and that's cool. And I've kind of set that boundary like he's here to support me in this life, but I'm living this life, and I have a husband who's a soulmate, and I have like things that I'm doing here. He doesn't need to really be a part of it in a romantic or weird way. So I set that boundary pretty early on because, I don't want, I've seen other people get really focused in on that spiritual connection, and that's beautiful. And I honor that. And I know that that's there, but that's not really what I'm here to do in my life experience. So that's just kind of my personal approach to the twin flame interaction. Other people may take that in different ways, but I have a very loving, supportive, amazing partner who is a soulmate, and I know is here to be with me here in this life experience. And I'm honoring that by focusing on that. So I want to throw that out there. That's a little bonus there. But um, he really does honor those boundaries, and he supports me in just kind of just a loving, supportive way. There's no weirdness there. I think sometimes people get fascinated with that type of connection, and sometimes it's meant to be in life experiences, and sometimes it's not. And really, it's quite often the case. Twin flames, often one incarnates on earth and the other shows support by being on the other side of the veil to provide that support. So that's kind of the role that we're in at this point, and I love it. I support, or I embrace his support and my sister's support and my mother's support, and it's really cool. And what they do, the Pleiadians side of my Starseed family, is they help me with kind of more my health, more my creative endeavors, more of the other things, whatever I ask them to help me with, of course. But I've really worked on having really cool kind of collaborative relationships with their guidance and their energy kind of mixed in. I talk a lot about having a board of trustees, kind of like a board, like a list of beings that I like to turn to at any given moment. And I can ask, I like to envision it as like I'm asking for a vote of confidence, like, should I make this choice, yes or no? Kind of give me your sense of what you feel. And I kind of imagine like this huge like boardroom with all of these beings sitting at like a big council conference room table. And it's fun to see how they kind of sit and interact, and I get to get their vote. And so kind of how you were describing, like you're making your decisions and you're trusting yourself and you're feeling really supported. That's kind of how I do it too, is I make decisions, they're my own, but I also kind of try and get their input and see, like, if I make this choice, what do you think? They're often like, it doesn't matter to us, what do you think? So
Very
it's
much that.
it sometimes backfires, yeah. But yeah, that's how I like to work with them, and that's really where it started. And then getting to interact with these starseed energies and feel the differences and feel how they're supporting me in certain ways, and then my angel team supporting me in different ways. I wanted to share that with other people because some people just don't resonate with angels all the time, like they're really curious about their starseed connections, and they feel maybe not super comfortable here on Earth. Earth has a certain frequency, and
Yeah.
sometimes you just don't like it or you don't feel like you fit in. And that definitely comes out of the starseed. That starseed part of us, that we are bigger than just being human. And so I was really feeling that a lot, especially when I started to channel. and I was getting all this guidance and feeling these big feelings and getting the really big picture, and then me having to go to work. It was a little bit of struggle having to go in and do work and focus on these little itty bitty problems that aren't really problems.
Ooh,
So it was a struggle, but they really helped me balance that out, and
yeah.
also kind of help me reinforce those boundaries around what am I here to do? I'm here to have fun. I'm here to, express love and enjoy myself, and also help others, whoever I can reach, to connect with themselves and to connect with spirit and do that as much as possible. So they really got on board with all of that work, and that's why I'm doing these Starseed readings and the courses and the ebooks. And I have a lot of other things that I want to work on, but all in due
Yeah.
time. There's more coming out. But the classes are going to be awesome. And the readings I offer all year round. So I'm really glad that you got to experience that, because you've had other types of readings with me as well. And
Hmm.
how do you think, like, how do you, I guess, contrast the few different experiences you've had? Just for you. Oh, you're kind of
The
breaking up a little
first,
here. Oh, there
my
we go.
first two readings. Oh, hi. So my first two readings were very like personal guidance. Like I was going through a lot at the time, kind of similar to that, like the experience of density. Like I very much could feel in some ways that I didn't quite match the energy of Earth quite yet, and I couldn't yet make sense of the things. So I had very much like questions, trying to make sense of things, and I didn't yet trust myself at the time at all. I think the contrasting bit was with this last reading, connecting with my Starseed family. It allowed me to be here fully. Like because I've been looking towards spirituality for a long time to kind of help me, like the intent
Great.
to elevate out of my physical experience. And
Mhm.
this last reading was like, no, it's okay. You are meant to be here. You're meant to play. Just allow yourself to be here. You're supported. We're supporting you and grounding you energetically. We're supporting you with your ascension symptoms. I just felt like
Mhm.
it gave me permission to kind of fully embody, and trust the decisions that I was making, and trust that I very much have sovereignty over my life, and that they're here supporting me, and I can call them in at any time and ask them for guidance. But ultimately, I get to make my decisions about being here.
Mm.
And I was also really glad that they were gathering information by me being here as well. Like, that was really
Yeah.
interesting to note, that they were like kind of studying this experience through
Mhm.
like like being with me and journeying with me.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that aspect. I was surprised by that.
Yeah, that's a good thing to call out, because I've seen that a lot. They're always very curious because they're not in that space of, I guess, that contrast of, or that density that we are in here on earth in this reality. And so they're just constantly seeing that bigger picture, and they're connecting different ways, and they have different ways of making choice and all that kind of stuff. But here in earth on earth, our free will choice is so protected that it can go any way. And that's like the cool creative part of being here on earth, is there's no right or wrong way to make a choice. And watching the decision making process and how you experience it and what you feel, and how you grow and can and learn from things, is something that they're always checking out. They're always wanting to know, especially now with you. I didn't see any of these types of beings, the grays, but with other beings, I've seen them, and I've seen them from afar, kind of just observing people in more public spaces, which is kind of weird. That's an experience I could go into later if you're interested. But um, the grays are here to really observe and watch how we grow and how we can move forward through our choices. and in especially around our emotions, because they don't have the emotional bandwidth that we have here on Earth. They have
Mm.
like maybe one or two kind of weak sauce emotions around like curiosity and maybe kind of a questioning, kind of blends into curiosity, kind of a questioning um, type of emotion that's like, what is this about? And so they do a lot of that type of research, kind of just being a passive observer. In days gone by, they were a little bit more hands on. And that's where we get a lot of our deep rooted fear around UFOs and around aliens and, being abducted and all this stuff. Not to say that it doesn't happen, but it's very rare at this day and age of where we're at. It was much more common before. Um, but it still can happen. But there's not as much of that active interaction. It's more done separately away from Earth and also in a bit of a more passive way. So it's so fascinating to see that evolution, but they're very curious and very wanting to see what's going on and how do you make those decisions and how do you journey along when you have any choice that you could possibly make. So what do you do with that as a human? So it's so fascinating to kind of see through their eyes too, how we make choices. And for me, that's definitely something that I've kind of noticed is like I may make a different choice than I would have made 3 years ago because I'm kind of seeing the bigger picture, and these little things that I might have gotten hung up on are not a big deal anymore, or they're something that I'm like, oh, I'm not worried about that. Like, it's totally not a big deal. So it's so fascinating how when you do work with your Starseed family and you get to connect with them, that you just evolve. And I'm excited to see more in the future of how you connect with your team and how it just kind of grows and how you grow as a person. And yeah, I hope that I get to connect with you again, maybe in a few months to check in and see how you're doing. But
Oh, most definitely.
awesome. Glad to hear it.
Absolutely. Thank you
But
so much.
awesome. Well, thank you so much, Vuyo, for your conversation and sharing your experience. This was really, really awesome to hear. Like I was saying, like I don't get to hear this too much. So being able to chat with you about this is super exciting to me. And I just really appreciate you taking the time to have this conversation. Is there any final questions or anything else that you'd like to share with anyone before we hop off?
Um, one last thing. I
Okay.
feel like I'm really getting the word trust is being highlighted to me at the moment.
Mhm.
Not sure why, but I just keep hearing the word trust and the feeling of like what it feels like in my body.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and I think that's one of the things that I maybe took away from like doing the reading is that I feel like I have a lot of inner trust and I'm trusting of life a little more. Um, yeah,
That's
I'm just getting the word
beautiful.
trust.
That's awesome. And
Yeah.
I'm asking those who are here with us, that's part of your team and my team, I'm asking them what if they wanted to comment on any of that. And they're just giving a big thumbs up. To me, a thumbs up in my mind, in my inner vision, is just a sign of confirmation. They're not actually giving me a thumbs up, but they're giving me that confirmation, that energy around, yes, that's exactly what we want you to feel, for you specifically, Vuyo, but also to show others that um, trusting their Starseed family to be there, because they are going to be there no matter what. So they're already there. If you trust and connect with them, it's just going to help you expand and step forward. And they're saying, explore this as you will, but know that that is one of their ultimate goals in helping us here on earth, is to help us trust ourselves to go out and have fun, to do what we want to do, to make the choices that we want to make, like they were saying before around just it's this is a growing experience, and this is a chance for us to be in a space of deep contrast, and see what all of these different emotions and experiences feel like. So it's like an educational vacation.
Very educational. Confirmed.
Yes. Yes, for sure. Awesome. Okay, well, thank you so much, Fuyo, for your time. And I'm sending a lot of love to you. And I just appreciate you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for hopping on here with me. All right.
Okay.
Bye.